ننتصر على نصر الله سبحانه وتعالى وحده والله الذي لا إله إلا هو. لا تدبير عسكريتنا.
We are 100% committed to the cause of Islam. We love death the way you love life.
I mean, the secret of religion or even great secular ideologies is not inherently false ideas or opiates of the masses or anything like that. It's to build communities. That's what they're about. They're about building group life. God is group. Human beings have developed what Darwin called values highly esteemed and even sacred. Among these are patriotism and loyalty and commitment to transcendental ideas. So where do they come from? They come from this ability that I think was this mutation in the brain that allowed for fiction and creation and the building of possible worlds. And they regulate group life in such a way that individual meaning, individual sense of what counts, individual notions of purpose are always incomplete and can only be completed by these transcendental ideas which we can never quite grasp. What are sacred values? First, they're immune to material trade-offs. To give an example, most of us wouldn't trade our children or sell out our countries or religion for all the money in China. They're immune or resistant to temporal and spatial discounting. In political and economic theory, those things in the here and now are worth more than those things that are in distant places or distant times. Bird in the hand is better than two in the bush, kind of thing. For sacred values, often the opposite is the case. Things in distant places or in distant times may be much more valuable in the here and now. Consider great battlefields or events such as the coming out of Egypt or the flight from Mecca to Medina or the Second Coming. And they are closely tied to the emotions. They arouse moral outrage when they are violated, and they're not norms. Whatever influence others may have on your life, they will not affect your sacred values once you hold them to be sacred. And finally, we show they have different brain signatures, different neural patterns in the brain as compared to regular values that are subject to utilitarian or cost-benefit judgment or costs and consequences and risks and rewards. You do things, whatever the rewards, whatever the risks, whatever the costs, whatever the consequences, because they're the right thing to do. And so we find in the brain that people who are willing to fight and die for sacred values show inhibition of deliberative reasoning, of those areas of the brain associated with utilitarian reasoning, in favor of rapid, duty-bound responses. Again, these are transcendental ideas. These are ideas that you can't literally falsify or prove to be logically consistent or not. But it gives a sense of meaning to our societies, a purpose in life, something that tells us we're not alone, Charlie, in the universe. It's not just chaos. There is something more than just us and absurdity.
Extended her borders. She now occupied Arab land and
come to the village of Beilin from around the world to condemn what Israel...
We had just done a study of Palestinians and Israelis. So the first group of, say, 700 Palestinians, we asked, would you be willing to give up the right of return, the Palestinian right of return to Israel, for peace along the 1967 borders? Over 80% of refugees and all people, Palestinians, refused to give up the right of return, even if they would never take that option. The second group, we gave the same scenario, except this time we said the Palestinian Authority would get so many billions of euros or dollars, or each Palestinian family would get so many thousands of dollars in exchange for giving up the right of return and having peace and security along the 1967 borders. Well, opposition to peace went through the ceiling. That is, money, offers of money and material backfired. So, contrary to rational choice expectations, the fact that they were being asked to abandon their sacred value and being offered money for it outraged them. And then the third group, we offered the same as the first two, except instead of a material compensation, and the Israelis would apologize for the dislocation and dispossession of Palestinians in 1948, without any promise of letting them return or material compensation. And we found that support for a peace agreement increased significantly. That is, recognizing what was important and sacred to the others was essential.